networking event. We are excited to have you all there. I just my name is Lena. I'm manager at Imaguru Startup Hub. If you want to know some details about this place, just come and ask. I want to introduce you like our format. If someone doesn't know, we like our startup networking event. It is all about fostering connections. So it is event and place where you can connect, network with each other. You can get insights from our speakers, and you can like explore something new and find new entrepreneurs, collaborators, partners, friends. It's all up to you. So before we start, I also want to say you some words about the place where we are right now, if someone else doesn't know. We are like Imaguru Startup Hub. Soon we will be a startup cafe. And we are combining cafe zone, so you can find there any drinks like tea, coffee, alcoholic, non-alcoholic drinks, and some snacks. Also, we have event venues that you see it right now. We can accommodate here up to 6 people. And also we have co-working space where you can find any free place for working. So we'll be glad to see you here. Also, we have a lot of like events like this, not only in the evening, also in the morning, like founders breakfast, investors breakfast, something else. And also we'll be glad to see you. And today we have our special guest who I think give you some insights. I want to introduce him. His diverse roles include being a consultant at Stanford University, director at Startup Grind, director at Techstars Startup Digest, and ambassador at Venture Cafe and Global Startup Awards. So, Ahmed Piraiee, please, welcome to the scene. So guys, enjoy please the event, use your opportunity, possibilities, and I hope you will enjoy.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone. How many of you guys know me already? Some of you do not raise your hand, that's fine. So, my name is Ahmed. I'm in Warsaw for like 12, 13 years. So I have a very interesting story of like even before this place was Orange Fab. Historically, a lot of startups happen here. Amazing team. They asked me to come here and talk about the startups, but I see a very diverse group. And what I do is usually is that I create companies. I do venture building. So I'm not a person who just talks, even though I do public speaking. I'm mentioning this because I want you to know that what I'm going to talk is way more practical than theoretical. However, I also like teaching, sometimes universities and other places. And what I have is, I created this MasterClass, and it goes to 3 stages. One is for people that they are either just have an idea or they would like to just start something new. And they can start all the way from just getting to know something. Do I have an idea? Is this a good idea? How am I going to make it into a business? So we start with one that is understanding the startup ecosystem. Where am I going to find my mentors? Where is the place where I have to work? Where can I find the money? Where is the media and all of those places? The second part is about building an ecosystem. How am I going to build my connections with the VCs that are going to give you the money? Where am I going to work? Where is my connections to all the people that they are somehow trying to help me to grow my company? Next one is source of funding. A lot of people don't know. Not always you have to go and talk to VC about your money. You can make it by yourself. You can try to go into the bank and try to get it in so many other ways. I listed around 13 different ways that you can try to source your money. It's a huge difference if you really understand these things. The fourth one is about investment readiness. You have your idea ready. You know all the people around you that can help you be successful. You know where to get the money. Now you have to be ready to talk about this. Give me $1 million. I don't know what I'm going to give in return. I don't know exactly where I'm going to do with your money. The answer is always no. So you have to be ready. Then the MasterClass 2 is basically for later stage. Let's just say you have a company, you already get investment, then what would you like to do with that money? We start with developing a marketing strategy. It's a campus. If you are trying to go towards Krakow or Wrocław, it doesn't matter where you're going. First, you have to know you're in the right direction. That's marketing. Then we go and try to talk about sales and distribution, how fast you're going in the right direction. Then scaling and growth strategy. There's a huge difference between being good at what you do now and being able to scale it up. You have this space is amazing for 6 people. You want to make it for 600. It doesn't mean that the number of the people that they are is 100 times, so your profit is going to be 100 times. And even more complicated than that, when you would like to go global. You have 600 people here, everything is great. You want to go to the next country, you copy this, paste it there, you lose twice. Because you don't know the culture, maybe it's not a match, maybe your competitor is there and everything is going to go down, maybe you are short on staff and so many other things. So, whole different story. But what we're going to talk today is the third one. These are case studies. This time what I have for you is a hot pizza. I mean, unfortunately it's not real. But the reason that I mention this is, how many of you guys know Domino as a brand? And how many of you can just try to tell me that this is a startup or this is a technology company? This is what I'm trying to fix here. So most of the time when we're talking about startups, we always hear that something has to be hardware, software, technology, and by technology, we mainly mean something that is 0 and 1. So when somebody is running a company like a pizzeria, we never really think of them as a startup. I'm trying to somehow refresh this by talking about the story of the Dominoes. I don't care about your idea. I don't care even where you are in the stage of your life. Remember, if you really would like to connect with people, tell them a story. As long as I come here, I say my name is Ahmed, and I would like to make the world a better place, and this is my new calculator that is run by AI and powered by blockchain. Okay, you might engage with me if that's exactly your problem or this is somehow related to you. But the moment that I started talking and there's a story and there's a narration, even if this is not related to you, even if you don't want to invest, even if you don't want to buy it, you listen to what I'm about to say. So the reason that this third episode that is all about case studies are in a form of storytelling is just because I want you to somehow engage with this and find yourself in it. If you're an entrepreneur and you say, I'm too old for this and I had to start earlier, if you're a person who thinks that unlike other people, I didn't came up with a successful and super rich family and that's not what I'm gonna do unless so many other things that are gonna happen to me, you find yourself in the story and you understand that success is not linear. It doesn't mean that if you were yesterday here and today you're here, then it's going to gradually grow, so you have to start as early as possible and with as much money as possible. These are the ways that we would be able to hopefully go through this. If you would like to get the content, I encourage you to scan this QR code. I mean, this is just basically to bring you back to my email. Just write with the title of the event, and I will be able to share it with you. Another comment that I also have for you, I have a newsletter. So for the past 3-4 years, every week, I curate all the events that happened on the week before and all the events that are happening on the week after, so that you will be able to stay in touch with all the people that you have in the startup ecosystem. It's a free newsletter. If you would like, you can also send me in the email and I will be able to also add you to the newsletter. So not to take too much of your time, what I'm about to tell you is based, or maybe I would say inspired by this book that I think it's like 3 months old. So I would say that that's pretty interesting. More than happy if you also would like to just try to see if you would like to read it by yourself in detail. Because what I'm about to tell you is more about practicality of the book rather than just to tell you what the book is about. So Tom Monaghan is a very strange character. He's charismatic, he is controversial, and he has it all. So if I will explain a little bit more about him, then you understand why I chose him as a person that should hopefully be interesting to most of you. Aside from this book, I also tried to get something else from the other book, that is the Domino's story. There is literally a thing called the Domino's effect. We'll talk about it later, but I'm just trying to mention it in a way that you understand that this company is so specific in what they do that they literally have their own style. And again, if you write me the email, then I will be able to also help you a little bit with going through the processes and if you have more questions. So I will start with just explaining to you exactly who the founder was and why this whole story might be relevant to you. And by the way, guys, you don't have to go through this whole thing because I intentionally made this in a way that I would be able to give it to you so that you will be able to read it by yourself and you would be able to go through more details of this, because as I told you, this is a way for me to somehow try to create a story so that you would be able to understand different style of storytelling and different style of entrepreneurship. Most of the time when you go to a startup ecosystem and you try to hear something, it's either too technical or it's too out of order. I try to make it a little bit more engaging, and at the same time you would learn something that you will be able to put it for your own company. So the whole story is that Tom started in a very poor and in a very broke family. And his dad died when he was 4. And his mom was basically living on a minimum wage. And at some point, basically, she understood that she cannot really afford having 2 kids. And she put them in an orphanage house. And that was a huge story. Yes? Sure. Can I turn this one so that... Is it better here? Yeah, right now, yes. But no worries. So, yeah, because I tried to put this also as my own way of looking at it, and I had to be a little bit more in the front, but that's all fine. So, long story short, he was in a broken family. His dad died when he was 4, and his mom basically understood that she cannot afford having 2 kids, so she put them on basically a foster house, and that was a very harsh beginning for him. And even with that, you can imagine a child with all of the traumas and everything, he was not an easy kid. And because of that, he was even in and out of the foster house. At some point, he literally ended up being in a Catholic school that also later played a very huge role in his personality and how he basically just evolved as a character that he is. So you can imagine, hard character brought him a lot of different things that later showed him that he cannot easily accept a lot of things, and at the same time, he would not quit. So some good things and some complicated things at the same time in his life. One of the other things that he managed to do was also, even as a small kid, he managed to do a lot of small works and small tasks. And that made him a hard worker. It means that even if you're the owner of the business or nothing, you have this character that you really would like to make the best out of what you have, regardless of the, let's just say, the title that you have in the company. A lot of guys started to work as a CEO of the company or the head of the company, and they feel that everything is beneath them. Why? Because they're in a high ranking and this is somebody else has to do this. But when you start from the bottom of the society, you know that you always are responsible for everything in your company. So what happened was that he was basically going back and forth with his family and all the French and everything that he had in his life. One of the biggest problems that happened in his life, can you imagine, he basically managed to finally go back with his mom after 7 years. And then his mom had a car. He took his mom's car and his mom called the police. And then he stayed in the jail. Again, talking about trust and talking about all the things that you want to do as a kid. He went back and all the things led to the point that his mom basically put him on a juvenile. So he, all the way to the age of 18, he was in prison. And that is a kid that basically grew up with no dad and no education, and at the same time with having a lot of aspiration in his life. So when he was at his high school, he basically wrote that the harder I try to be good, the worse I get, but I may do something sensational yet. So it means that he still feels that he can do something even though nothing is on his side. This is something that I would like you to see, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they came out of wealth, they came out of good families, they already have a lot of people that they're teaching them from the day one how they have to be a global influencer, or how they have to be, you know, just taking families, business and everything. There's a nice twist in the end about it that you also, hopefully you would like it. So what happened with him is that he finally managed to get out of the orphanage house, he finally managed to get out of the jail, he finally managed to go to high school, and then he wanted to finally finish his education. The only way he could do it was by going to army. And he wanted to apply to go to the army, but by mistake he applied to be on a Marine Corps. And if any of you would know if you know what it means, this is the toughest thing you can get. And it is super hard because they're not really messing with you. And he basically said that if I would be able to survive the Marine, then I would do anything in my life. So he did everything, not because he liked it, but rather he really wanted to somehow finance his education so that he would be able to be something with his life. He managed to do this, and now imagine, he saved all of his money and he had $2,000. This might be a very nice beginning for a very beautiful story. But what happened? He found a person that told him that he has this oil business, and if he would be able to put his money, then he is going to be rich. Now imagine you're a kid, come out of nowhere, you finally see an opportunity to get rich fast. What do? Give all of your money to this person. And as you can imagine, 99.9% of all the quick rich schemes are going to end up just going nowhere. Same as this. So he lost all of his money and he ended up having only $15 in his pocket. So again, back in the zero, no savings, nothing to do. But one thing that happened to him was that he basically started to working in a newspaper. So he started selling the newspaper as a subscription. And that was something that taught him a lot by just thinking that maybe this method of delivery and everything is going to help him later. So if I would say Dominic's Pizza, I think nobody would know them, right? So let's just talk about the Dominic's Pizza. So there was as we talk about it, Tom had a brother called Jim. Jim was working in a pizzeria that belongs to a gentleman called Dominic Divarti, Italian, right? So you can imagine that, he was thinking that he's going to be good at running a pizzeria, but he wasn't. And he had two pizzerias. And one of them was basically just losing money, and that's where his brother was working. So he literally wanted to sell his pizzeria for $500, and this is where the catch is. That place already had $2,000 in debt. So basically you needed to have $2,500 so that you would be able to start working there. And as we talked about it, our main character, he does not even have money for himself. So what do? You forget about it, you go back to your newspaper and try to sell this for the rest of your life. But that's not his character. He agrees. That's one of those things that I also mentioned that we will talk about it. Not always you have to have complicated stories and not always your ideas have to be extraordinary. He just managed to go and get a loan for $900, and with that they managed to buy both brothers together. So now, out of nothing, they're basically having an almost broke pizzeria that it's all in debt, and even if it was good, nobody wanted to sell it for $500, right? So what did they do? They managed to somehow try to create something that would provide some added value. As you can imagine, I'm not sure how many of you guys are old enough, but back then there was kind of like a phone book. You would be able to go to the phone book, and then you was like pizzerias and A to Z. You would be able to see where you want to just get your pizza. They did not even have a phone there. It was that broke. And even with all the problems that they had, on the first week that they managed to start, they managed to make $99, not even $100, right? So they were kind of thinking that they're going to be good at this. And it managed to grow a little bit, and at some point they managed to get around $750 a week. But what they understood is that most of their customers are students, because they were next to the place that there were some schools, and those were the people. So the moment that the school closed, everything crashed. What does it mean? Meaning that sometimes you think that you're growing in your business, but the success story that you have is a whole different chance that because you didn't calculate it, it is today a good idea and tomorrow is going to be a very bad idea. That is also another thing that he learned very well and very early in his life, bear in mind that he is still almost 20 years old. And then what happened to him later was that he just saw that his basically sales is going down, and at the same time they're both young. Both him and his brother, they're both super young. So what they really tried to do was to try to work a little bit harder and then try to see if they would be able to do something with this restaurant that they acquired. But the problem is that his brother, literally 8 months after, while they were 50-50 in the business, decided that he is going to leave the business and leave everything to him. So remember, the idea was his brother's, but then he right now wants to give everything. but he wants money because they both get the loans together. So what did they do? They had this Beatles that they were using it for the delivery. So the brother basically gave 50% of this company to his brother in exchange of a Beatles. So now you can imagine, I mean, this is, it's like I'm talking about the Titanic and I'm trying to tell you that I'm not going to spoil the end of this, you know, that the Titanic is going to crash. So this is a multi-billion-dollar business. And his brother just sold it for a crappy old car, right? This is also another thing that you see on and on in your life. In the beginning, anybody easily comes into your business and easily goes out of the business because it's just a matter of selling a future, it's a matter of selling a dream. In the beginning, there is nothing really happening, with your business. So now imagine, he basically right now is the one person that even with two people, they barely managed to do this. And now what they have to do? He had to work harder. He had to basically try to somehow live with this life. He is at this stage living in his pizzeria. He's eating the leftovers that people have in his place so that he will be able to survive with his life. And this is where he basically wants to do something about this. But it's not that he's doing it and he's just going to sleep and he's coming back. Whenever he finishes, he's doing a market research, literally. He's walking around the city, try to eat and see how people are eating the pizza, how people are preparing themselves to see other pizzerias, and try to see which part of it he can implement in his business so that he will be able to have a better business. This is a very crucial point in the whole story that we are having here, and that is the point of the market research. It's not about a matter of the fact that I know better than everybody else. It's a matter of the fact that we talked about an ecosystem. By talking to other people, that's one of the reasons that you're here, you never know what you're going to get and how successful you're going to be in your life. One of the elements that happened in this story is that one guy that he was Italian and he was having his own pizzeria, he agreed to give him his recipe. And he easily just put it in his own company. And that's a funny story, because if you really go back to the story of a lot of people that they make restaurants, in so many cases, what they did is not the original idea, just somebody gave it to them. So it's a matter of the operation that made them as successful as they are today. And with that, you can imagine that the sales got better, and at the same time, he would be able to somehow manage everything by himself, and the restaurant was profitable. But what did he want to do? He wanted to open up a second location, because he was looking at it that this is a scalable startups, meaning that what I'm going to do in one location, I can do it in multiple locations and make more money. Another thing, market segmentation. If you are right now saying that I have a pizza and it's for everybody, it's really hard to scale it, it's really hard to define it. But from the beginning, he knew his target audience were students. So he wanted to go to a place, and he managed to find a place that, first of all, people could be there, 5,000 students there, and at the same time, it was not a capital, it was not a place too expensive, so he could afford to get a pizzeria by himself. And with all of that, he wanted to go to the second place. But what is the problem? If you would like to go and run two locations at the same time, 1,000 kilometers away from each other, you definitely need to have a partner, because you cannot afford just to pay somebody to do this, and at the same time, you cannot be in two places at the same time. So one day, there was a guy, Jim. He came to his pizzeria, and he started talking to the owner of the restaurant. He used to have one of the most popular pizzerias in the city, but he had alcohol problem, he had a lot of problems, and that caused him to be bankrupt. So what did he want to do? Quit everything and start over. Between the line, he was trying to tell the guy that if you would like to work with somebody, I'm your guy. And that was the exact same time that he had this idea that he would like to also open up a new location. So he had a person with experience in pizzeria. He had no idea even how to make pizza. The guy, the Nick guy in the beginning that he basically just gave them the whole pizzeria, he was the person that literally tried to teach them even how to make the pizza. So as you can imagine, everything for him is brand new. He's not a chef, he's not a person who knows all of these things by himself. So working with a person who knows these things at least a little bit, even if he's drunk and he has a lot of problems, it is something that he would be able to consider for himself. But terms and conditions. So what did he want to do? The guy came and he said that with my lawyer, I'm going to come over, and what we're going to do is that I will take 50% of your company in exchange of $500 input, $500. input, and then we will be able to 50-50. You go and open up a new location, I will run this one. Bear in mind, at this point, the restaurant is already profitable. He said, okay. They went there and tried to do this, and it's like, sorry, but I'm too broke, I don't even have 500. And I was like, okay, you will pay it later. Bear in mind, he did not even pay that 500. So he basically came over, took 50% of the business. Again, look at this. First it was a car, and now, again, the 50% of a multi-billion-dollar business is just totally going out just because a person is desperate and they think that this business doesn't really have a lot of things in the future, right? So, what happened in the beginning? Tim went to the new location. He's working super hard on the other side. And because he did not read the terms and the conditions, all the debts and the damages that there are between two locations is on him, not on his partner, even though they are 50-50, even though the other person did not even put $1 in his business. This is what you see in so many different levels. Somebody comes to your startup, said that I will be able to work with you, but I need 50% share in your company, 20% share in your company. But because you don't read the terms and conditions, they come, they get the money, they don't do anything, and anytime they want, they would leave because they already prepared all of those legal agreements way better than you. And because you think that you are good at business, you think you're good at law. Make sure that if you are having a problem with this, a lawyer should always be by your side, or a person that knows at least these things in a more practical way. So what happened with him was basically he understood that the business is not moving forward, the guy is not even coming to the work, and at the same time, all the things that he wants to do is not really adding anything to the sales of the company, but rather they're just losing all of the money that they have in the company. So what do? They finally decide that at this stage, there is no point. Again, he comes back, and then by giving some money and everything, he takes back his shares, and again, he's 100% shareholder of the company. So now imagine, you're 20 years old, you're barely running 2 pizzerias. He managed to find the love of his life, and now they're married. And I mean, this is all in the biography. He just said that before I will be 30, I will be a millionaire. This is one of those things that you have to see in the life of entrepreneurs. They don't have small dreams, they have big dreams. You can see it in like Steve Jobs and so many other people that they have that kind of mindset. It's not a matter of what I am and what I do, it's a matter of the fact that I look at myself big. Most of the people that they see that they would like to buy a house for themselves, or God forbid 2 and a car, they're not going to succeed, and if they do, this is going to be always a small and medium enterprise, not an empire that most people like this, they usually make for themselves. I'm just trying to show it to you because this kind of entrepreneur's mindset is going to help you a lot to understand if entrepreneurship is the right thing for you or not. So, again, the brand is going forward, everything is getting better, and what's the problem? Still, this is called the Dominic's Pizza. And there is another guy that his name is Dominic, and he by now has like 2-3 places for himself. But what he sees is that a company or a business that he sold for $500, now it makes even more money than him. So he basically gets jealous, or let's just say that it's his right, and he says that, yeah, you know what, my customers come over and they think that your brand is my brand, so you have to just change your name. This is a huge problem. I see it in so many different cases. You guys, how many of you guys have your own startup or your own company? And how many of you guys already patented your name and everything is copyrighted? That's the problem. I know restaurant owners that right now they're running for 10 years and still their name is not 100% legally theirs. But what's the problem? It's just a tiny restaurant. They don't make a lot of money. But the moment that they make enough money, everybody comes after them. And then right now they have a recognition, and the moment you change your name, you lose your customer because they are not even going to recognize you. And also remember what we discussed. I mean, it is funny because right now you will just say, oh my God, with social media and others, like, I don't have any privacy. Imagine there was a time that if you were in a city, especially in the US, everybody, they will have a free book in front of their door that had the name, last name, and a phone number of everybody. Meaning that right now, if you meet somebody, I was like, what is your name? And I was like, John. And I was like, John what? And I was like, John Watts. And I was like, okay, where do you live? In a city center. And I was like, nice to meet you. And then tomorrow it was like, hey, this is the person that I met yesterday. And I was like, how did you get my number? And I was like, phone book. So you could find people. It was like, there was no privacy. As long as you had a phone in your place, people could be able to find you. So when you are a business, your name means everything, because the moment you change your name, you're totally disappearing from all the phone books. And that's a huge problem for a business, that it has a delivery in their core. So what did they do? First of all, if you would like to be on top of your business, another thing you have to be a people's person. You have to be a person who would be charismatic, you would be able to talk to other people, you would be able to welcome them, you would be able to make them like you. But when you are someone, grow up with a mom who put you in jail, and then you would live basically in and out of a foster house, what is going to happen to you? You're not exactly the most likable person. So every single time in his life, whenever he had a problem, he always made it even worse by exaggerating, by making things even worse than what they are right now. So as you can imagine, besides somehow trying to get a deal with him, he technically started a fight, and that fight ended up to the point that the other guy's lawyer basically came back to him. And as you can see, he is also not pretty much on the side of the law. He is a very emotional person, and he wants to do something, he make it happen. So he understood that he made a mistake, and now he really has to change his name. So he went to an advertising company. One good thing on his side, because a lot of people think that marketing and rebranding is just something that we do, you know, like it's Imaguru, and if you want to change the name, then what's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? A lot of times these things made a huge mistake for a lot of companies. I will give you a funny anecdote. So PricewaterhouseCoopers is a big company, and they rebranded themselves to make themselves shorter. It's called PwC. Good, amazing. They had a competition, and they were Ernst & Young. And they just thought that, you know what, if our competitor is going to make their name shorter, we're also going to make our name shorter. So what did they do? They called themselves EY. What they didn't know is that EY is a gay porn magazine in Brazil. It's a huge company. It's a huge country. And porn usually has way, way more views than a business. So for years, they were just running and then try to fix their search engine optimization so that they will be able to get a business. So remember, if you would like to do a rebranding, you first have to do a very good research, because the moment you change something, it might drastically damage your brand. But what did they want to do? First of all, they wanted to have a brand that looks like the last one, because they wanted to stay in the same level in the phone book. But at the same time, they also wanted to be something totally different. So he asked his staff to come up with something, and then one of them literally one day came, and he came up with the idea that they would be able to just call themselves Dominos, because it sounds like Dominic. And there is a funny story here. The reason that they had 3 dots, the first dot on the Domino piece was the original location, and the other 2 were the other 2 locations that they had. They had 3 locations. So the initial idea was that by every other location that they have, they're going to put another dot on their logo. Again, think about his scalability. He was thinking that he's going to have, I don't know, like 5 or 6 locations in the end. But now that they have thousands of locations, now think about a Domino's logo and how it's supposed to look right now. So we talked about a lot of fuck-ups that this guy did, a lot of times that he wanted to go up, but then went down, and then before he would hit the rock bottom, he would be able to go back up. But one thing that it was always in his life was the fact that he knew that if he wants to go somewhere, he had to innovate. You know, when you are a person that doesn't come from wealth and a lot of other problems happen in your life, you learn how to find something out of nothing. So one thing that happened to him was one day, most of his staff didn't show up. And if you ever work in a restaurant, having a lot of different orders when you don't have enough staff is the hardest thing to do. So what he did, he just crossed most of the items from the menu and then tried to only prepare a few of them for the people that they were at the restaurant. And guess what? That became the most successful day that they had in a restaurant. One of the beauties of a restaurant compared to other businesses is you can easily learn if what you do is good or bad. That's really good, because in some businesses it takes months, if not years, so that you will be able to get that knowledge. And then he understood that simplification and having less option might be the best thing for his business. So again, if you look at it, he always had this thing in his head. Research, market research, and more research, and this whole story. So another thing that they also did is that they saw that most of the people that have 12-inch pizza, So they cut all the other sizes they had. So in other places, you had like 5 different options, and they only had 1. So they had less options and less sizes, but then more people would come over. Why? Because let's just say that you want to have a bigger pizza, you will buy 2 of them. And even they understood that even if you have a smaller one, you would be able to get 2 more people, and then still you would be able to buy the same thing. Because in the overall, they were more optimized, so they will be able to give you a better price. All of these things, especially in the pricing part, it changes everything for your company. One of the problems that I see on and on in the startups is that even when they start doing their own idea, they already have 10 different products. Selling 10 different products, explaining to people, and try to see which one of them is going to choose which one of them, most of the time kills a startup. But the moment that your company has one product and you know how to sell it the best way possible, it's the best way. Wait till you're going to grow better, and then you can add a second and a third and a fifth. But the moment that in the beginning you already have 50, is the same like a pizzeria with a lot of items in their restaurant. So that made them make a huge difference. However, they didn't stop there. Then they understood that, okay, second problem. People are just saying that the taste of the pizza is not very good, but that was not the people that they were inside the restaurant, there were people that they were at home. They understood that the type of the boxes that they have, it gets the smell of the pizza. So what they did is that they invented literally their own type of boxes. And there's a very funny thing about the way that he talked, and he was saying that like Americans are just sending people to moon, and you guys are telling me that you cannot design a better box for my pizza. And that's how he managed to push the people to the edge so that they will be able to make this. And that was one of the other reasons that also his pizza became super popular, because everybody thought that, you know what, my pizza doesn't taste good. And it is what it is, everybody else is doing that. But the moment that you know that there's a better way to make it happen, you will find a way for this. But something that drastically changed, guys, I mean, you do not believe how important that is in the whole history of delivery. All the pouches that you see all the guys from, you know, Glovo and Uber Eats and Bolt and others have on their back, it's an innovation that was made by Domino's. Because before, everybody had their own bags and they had their own equipment, and that would make the delivery cold, that would make a lot of accidents. And just by inventing these tiny things for themselves, they'd revolutionize the whole point of delivery for themselves. But that was not the only thing that they did. Another thing that they also did was that they made delivery as a core of their business. People always need to know, if they are working with you as a startup or as a solution for themselves, what is the difference between you and your competitor? If what you have here is exactly what your competitor has on the other side, there is no reason for anybody to be able to work with you. So you have to separate yourself from them. And the way that they were separating themselves was through the delivery. They cut all of the chairs, they cut all of the front of the house, and the way that they were working with the customer was that everything was delivery only. And then you would be able to have Pizza Hut. They basically had a dining experience. You would go to Pizza Hut to be able to enjoy something with your family. You would be able to, for example, like, I don't know, like a Little Caesars and so many other brands. Everybody has something else, and the moment you would have Domino's, it's when you wanted to have a pizza at home. So that unique selling proposition is what you really need to have in your startup. A lot of times you talk to people, they have an amazing idea, but the moment you ask them what is unique about your product, and it was like, try it is going to be good, because they even know that there's nothing unique about it and everybody else is doing it. I am just trying to do it by my way. So innovation, 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 and that's what really made this pizza into way more of a technology company, that they were trying to always understand what makes them run out of money and then try to make it better and better. But now imagine what's going to happen right now. You basically have a company that makes a lot of money, and at the same time, you know that your customers are college students, military, a place that a lot of people go in and go out of this. The first thing that comes to your mind is that you would like to expand it. You would like to go to other cities, you would like to go to other countries, and this is going to be the best idea that you're going to have. So you have a lot of different innovations that other people don't have, so the first thing that you have to do, build an empire. Right? Because if this is going to work in this city and that city, my 3 locations can be 3,000 locations with no problem. And this is where we basically have to understand that this is not as easy as you would think. So they, at 1969, they tried to make it bigger. They made 32 new locations. And all of a sudden, a company that was profitable ended up being 1.5 million in debt. So now you can imagine, go back to my slides that I mentioned about expansion and global expansion. The moment that you are doing something, it doesn't mean that the moment that you scale the number of your sales or the number of your locations, you're going to be more profitable. You have to know that the growth is an important part of it. You have the same product, but the moment that you would be able to have new locations or new products or new type of customers, you might just kill this cash cow that before it was literally bringing money to you, and all of them literally end up being a loss. At the moment that you would look at it, you really feel that maybe even I have to sell my company just to be able to pay my debt. So they literally had to put their company in charge of the bank because they had a lot of debts toward the bank, so that the bank manages the whole company so that they will be able to do this. But one of the problems you see on and on in companies is that most companies are the image of their founders, meaning that everything works as long as they are running it. And the moment that even for 2 minutes they go on a vacation, the moment that they are leaving the company, everything collapsed. And that's one of the things that you see on and on again in the story of the Domino. It means that the moment that the owner, the founder, leaves the company, even if it's a bank, you all of a sudden see that nothing works as it was. So he see that even the bank cannot really help them. The problem is that these new locations, they see the success of the original one, but they are not keeping the quality, they are not keeping the same regulations, and that is the reason that they are literally just bleeding from all the new locations that they have. So they decided to lower the number of the branches that they have and have a whole different perspective. This time try to expand, but with a better approach and a slower. This is a huge thing that you will see sometimes with literally the price of your own company. You make it bigger, and then you understand that just by making it bigger, you kill your company. That's why you see a lot of company owners that they are experienced, they know these stories, they keep their company small as long as they can, and the moment they want to go global, they know for a fact that what they are doing is going to work. So what did they do here? They first made it mandatory that the person who wants to run the place at least for 1 year have a successful business, and then they would give them the franchises. Again, another way that you understand your problem, you admit it, and then you come back here and try to do it better. I'm trying to go back to the next slide. It's okay. Second problem. Also, another thing that they understood when they wanted to go global was the idea that they understood that because they are making their ingredients and everything in different places, the tastes are different. So what they did was that they created a central location that they would basically provide all of their ingredients to all of their locations. So what does it mean? It means economy of scale. You buy one apple with one price, you buy 500 of them with a different price and 5,000 of them with a different price. So what did they do? They bought it in bulk, and then after that, those locations were just doing two things at the same time. Getting a cheaper raw material, and at the same time, they basically would guarantee the quality because everything will come from the headquarters. So that also would somehow both help them to be cheaper and at the same time guarantee the quality of what they had in their places. So now imagine, right now they know exactly what they have to do. They managed to fix the central parts, they managed to fix the quality of this, they managed to fix a lot of different things. So now again, you can imagine that this is where basically Domino, like went global and everything is fine. One campaign that they did, you guys, some should be old enough to know this. How many of you guys remember this campaign for Domino's? Yeah, some of you. So they basically just said that we will give you the pizza in 30 minutes or it's free. And that was the way that you would look at it, and it was like, challenge accepted. So I'm either going to get a free pizza or I'm just going to pay for it. That's fun, right? So even a lot of people that did not even want to have pizza, they was like, that's an amazing thing. They will sit down at home, you will put your timer, and then you will take a look at it, and it was like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Another thing that they also had was a great app. So when you will look at it, the moment that you order, you will see that your pizza is starting, then you will see that your pizza is in the oven, then you will see that your pizza is in delivery, and then the moment that it's 29:59, then you will understand that, yes, I'm going to have a free pizza. But what they didn't understand is that those poor people that they are outside, they are risking their life, because otherwise they're going to lose their job. So again, humanitarian, good, bad, different story. But what happened was that one boy, he was only 17, and he basically just lost his life because he crashed with a car while he was having a Domino. And another thing, guys, before Domino, you didn't know that that person is a delivery. But they basically had these pouches, they had a Domino logo on them, so when a person was crashed, they know that that's a Domino delivery who did this. And that made a huge nationwide, let's just say, protest against this act, that they say that this is not the right thing to do, and they are basically putting people's lives in danger. And then later they understood that 4 other death accidents also happened exactly because of the same thing. So again, the whole thing collapsed. What's going to happen? You think that your unique selling proposition is delivery, and now delivery is the worst thing that everybody has, so they don't even want to do it from your pizzeria because they know that those people that they are delivering the pizza, they are the worst. And imagine, you also took all of your chairs out, so you cannot also tell people to come over to my place to have it. Delivery is the only option that you have. So they managed to go back and try to say 30-minute guaranteed, meaning that we're not going to be as aggressive, but as we said before, so that we will be able to an extent, recover from this. And if this is not good enough, then guess what happened? The founder of the company, again, grew up in a Christian orphanage. Then the same thing that happened to him was that at some point, he even wanted to be a priest. He literally wanted to basically, leave everything and then try to devote himself to his religion. And in all of his life, that was a big part of his, let's just say, ideology. But he was always poor. And now he is a super rich person. So what did he do? He started to make a foundation, and he started to somehow, let's just say, devote himself more to some higher causes for himself. And one of the things that he did, he first canceled a big women's march, and that was about reproductive rights. That was in the Domino's property, and he canceled it the last minute. Second thing that he did, he literally started pledging some money to even, let's just say, make some of the things that it was close to his faith happening. What happened? Massive backlash towards the society, and people started to boycotting Domino's. At this stage, again, Domino's was basically like $3 a share. People were just literally thinking that this company, is never going to come back to life. And that was the end of it. So again, same story. You have a huge business, you have a lot of costs, so if you would like to go somewhere, you have to make sure that your business is going to be profitable every day so that you will go somewhere. So what happened? Basically, the only thing that you can see is you are really the owner of the business. Sometimes even you sacrifice yourself for the sake of your company. So he sold his company, sacrifice for more than $1 billion to Bain company. This is a fun fact about this whole story. So I'm not sure how many of you guys into the US politics, but basically the Bain is Mitt Romney's company. So you can imagine a guy, he was an orphan, he came out of nowhere. And if you're Romney and you're super rich, now he is the owner of Domino, meaning that you don't have to work hard to get it. So world is not just, meaning that 2 entrepreneurs that are next to each other, one of them just comes, and then when the company grows and when the company is profitable, just come over and gets the whole thing. And another company, for every penny that they make, they really work for it hard just to make it happen. Another huge lesson for all of you that right now you can also see here is when the brand is very close to the persona of the founder, any wrongdoing by the founder would literally cause the brand to go down. When you're Elon Musk and all of a sudden you're going to be on a stage in a political party, your products is going to have a damage. When you are, even a Steve Jobs and then try to go there and do something, everybody's just going to think about, am I going to buy this brand or not? Sometimes in the case of a Steve Jobs, the moment he leaves Apple, everybody stopped buying Apple because they say if he's not there, I'm not going to have it. And sometimes when you're on Twitter, the moment you see that Elon Musk is on the account, that you just say that I no longer want to be associated with him, regardless of all the good things that he did and all the bad things that he did. So remember, sometimes it's way better just to be responsible for the company, but don't make a big deal out of your persona, because then later all of your aspect of the personal life affects your company. What he did was not wrong. He was an independent person. He could do whatever he wanted to do. But the moment that you are representing your company, the moment that your foundation is the same money that you have in the company, you're conflicting the interest of yourself and your beliefs with the company. So make sure that from the day one, remember, don't use your company for your own ego. Don't use your company for the sake of just having a better image. Make sure that your company is your company and yourself, you're separate from each other, so that you will be able to have a proper, let's just say, sustainability through your personal life and professional life all the way to the end. If this was not enough, then they also had a huge, in 2008, financial crisis. And imagine all of these problems and all of these things happen at the same time. I really wanted to put this video, but this is so disgusting that I honestly didn't even want to put that. But there was this very bad video that two bored people in Domino made just for fun, and they put it on YouTube. Bear in mind, that's also the beginning of YouTube, so everybody is trying to explore what they can do. So they started doing the most disgusting things with Domino Pizza, and they just basically wanted to somehow make it funny because they were bored at work. That's it. So there was nothing specific that, you know, like they wanted to get out of this whole story. And again, everybody was just trying to think of what we are going to do so that we will be able to get ourselves out of this whole, you know, situation. But what did they do? Let me just go back and then try to. So what did they do? I have to say this one before I move forward. Domino's right now is not one of the best stocks in the restaurant business. Domino's is one of the best stocks, period. They had something around 4,000% on, you know, on the growth that they had. So it is a great thing, but I'm just trying to make it in a way that you understand that if you really believe in what you do, it doesn't matter where you start, it doesn't matter how everything in the world is against you, it doesn't matter how many times you're close to the bankruptcy. If you believe in what you do, if you keep doing it, this is going to happen. So with all of the things, now imagine the founder is out, there is a new company in charge, there is a lot of crisis, and on top of all of those things, it's 2008, all the companies that have financial concerns, the price of the raw material is high, and now you have to gain customer. What do you do? So what they did, they bought cheaper materials, they basically lowered the quality of what they had, because that was the only way that they could sell with the same price. And now imagine, it tasted awful. So what do? You lie to your customer. You basically say that this is the exact same quality and this is your problem because you just don't like my pizza and it was always the same. But that's not what they did. They went straight ahead. They made a campaign against themselves. They basically put a focus group and they shared it online that they say that it tastes like cardboard, that it tastes awful and we don't like it. And then they brought a chef and they restarted everything from scratch. Meaning that they changed the dough, they changed the recipe, they changed the sauce, everything from the beginning, and they apologized to their customers. For me, it's a very Japanese style of management, but coming back from a very, very American style business, it just shows that they know how to run the business. You're running your operator and you keep having a problem, and then customer service and I was like, sir, did you start turning it on and off? I mean, they have a problem, but they put it on you. But the reality for them was that they were honest with their customers and they said that we made a mistake and we apologize and we fixed this. Just by the fact of being honest with their customers, everybody started to go back and buy the Domino's again. Another thing that you can also see in this, and I honestly would feel this is a big difference. This is a difference between a private equity firm and a bank. A bank has more money than a private equity, but the moment they want to manage something, they just burn it, and then after that they ask the same private equity or somebody else just to buy the debt because I don't know what to do with it. But the moment that you bring a private equity on board, they are so good at crisis management, they are so good at operation, they are so good at scaling, they drastically change everything. The only thing that most of the time private equities don't care are people. Meaning that if your company has one employee or 1,000 employees, you're a cost. So the moment that I can cut you, I will cut you. But they know exactly what the customer wants, they know how to manage all of those things. So when it comes to the exit for your company, when it comes to the way you want to get out of your business, remember private equities might be the best option in most cases. So, as you can imagine, one of the things that I mentioned to you, I started with a company that was supposed to be in a pizza business, but I showed you that it is a tech company. Just to go a little bit deeper, so in 2007, and trust me, that's very early in this life, they basically had a mobile app. Any of you guys used the mobile app on that time? It was amazing. Like, I didn't even care about the pizza's quality. I just cared about the fact that this mobile app really works. Like, you could literally see even, okay, I'm waiting for, this is the same story with the elevators. They basically put a mirror next to the elevator, and then everybody thought that the elevator comes faster. The moment you were on the mobile app, this is literally way ahead of the Uber and other places. Your taxi is late, you're angry. But the moment your Uber is 2 minutes, that is never 2 minutes, you basically just see that, oh, this is behind the red light here. So I understand you. And I imagine that Domino, way before all of these companies, they exactly had all of those things in the app, so you would be able to know step by step where your pizza is. So, and every step by step, they did some crazy stuff also. They did a drone delivery. They started doing their own autonomous cars for delivery. So you can also imagine not all the time the technology is the best way to move things forward, but at the same time, I just wanted to show you how much a company like this can be the same story as Apple and Microsoft and others. And the reason that I chose this is because I want you to know a startup can be any company. And all of that led to the point that right now Domino is the largest pizza company in the world. Just to make it clear, you always have 3 ways to learn how to do your business. One is pure theory. You go to school, they teach you business model canvas, they teach you how to do market strategy, how to do sales, and then you come and try to see things in real life, and then you understand none of those things are A, B, and C. They don't have order, they don't have names. Just today, half of my business is burning. You don't go back to your papers and then try to swap all of those things. And I was like, which one of them was, you know, the call to action when half of my business is burning? So a lot of people, unfortunately, they put all of the theories back and they try to do everything based on the intuition. I know that this is wrong, but I know how to do it. This is called the gut delusion. Basically, they feel that they know better than everybody. So they stop looking at the data, they stop looking at the market research, and they do everything by themselves. I'm not saying there's a good way to run a business. I'm not saying there's a bad way to run a business. I'm trying to show you those people who know the theory, and at the same time, even though they're very good with intuition, they're very good with knowing how to run a business, but still they believe in the theoretical parts, and they learn from the experience of other business owners that they went through the same path and they made the same mistake. They're the best type of entrepreneurs. You have my contacts here in case that you would be able to share your ideas with me, or you really have some questions and you would like me to somehow get back to you. And as I mentioned, if you will contact me, I will be able to give you the full slides because I put way more content there. When I was a kid, one of the things I really liked was art, and Michelangelo was one of those guys that I really liked what he was doing. He was crazy. If he wanted to, let's just say, make a sculpture out of a person who's fully dressed, first, he will draw them fully naked, then he will start putting dress on them, then he will cover all of the things that he did, just because he wanted to make sure that the anatomy is connected to what you have there. Unfortunately, this is also what you see in many presentations. I have a full script of this, then I cut it to the time of what we have here, And I also have 2 versions of this. One is for this part, and one of them is for sending it to you. The reason that I mentioned this is because that goes back also to your business. People would understand how much time and effort you put in what you do, and that's how they perceive you. So if you really want to do something, just remember that, with all due respect to everybody, like, doing it for yourself, because that's always the best thing. And I would say maybe that must be the biggest part of this, because if you take a look at this whole story, everything started with a person who had nothing and then ended up selling his company for $1 billion, while 10 times between the way he basically was supposed to just go home with nothing, right? So with that, I would like to say thank you for everybody for listening. I tried to finish it on time, so I'm almost on time, 3 minutes before. Now is the time for you if you have any questions. If not, we can also try to get it back on the networking part, but this might be the easiest place to answer your questions. You had an easy path to say no to this, but okay. So thank you very much, and see you guys back in the networking part. Thank you.